Hello, this is Jake from Protocon. In this Inside Protocon, I would like to talk about blockchain governance. In many articles related to blockchain, you probably heard about the word governance. So I will talk about what the blockchain governance means and what is it for and why is it necessary. In particular, Protocon Network also consider blockchain governance very important. We will take a deep dive into the blockchain governance in the series of episodes. So let's get this started. The awareness of issues related to blockchain governance is something our team members have been thinking about for a long time. According to the article about the blockchain governance that was written by Myung-san Jun, and this was published in an online magazine called Data Insight back in 2019. The name of the article is Blockchain Governance. It determines whether the blockchain survives or not. To quote Protocon leader Myung-san's statement, overall, the issues related to blockchain governance that I thought about were sorted out while conducting a lot of research at this time. Even now, my thinking can be seen as an extension of the content covered in the article I wrote at the time. And of course, these concerns are fully incorporated into the Protocon project. When you look at the blockchain, there are quite a lot of cases where decisions have been made. In fact, only representatives ones have been selected here. So decision making refers to, for example, decisions about whether to do A or B, or change A to B. Typically, there's decision-making cases related to Bitcoin, which is known as the origin of the blockchain cryptocurrency. Let's talk about Bitcoin for a moment. When Bitcoin first appeared, most people thought Bitcoin would become the next generation of digital currency. However, in present, Bitcoin is characterized as a digital asset rather than a digital currency. Because if digital currency is usually used for transaction for 10 cents, $10 or like $200, Bitcoin's transaction fees are relatively too expensive to be used in these cases. Assuming a cup of coffee costs about $5, you can't pay a $2 fee to buy a cup of coffee, right? Price of Bitcoin has exceeded 56,000 for one Bitcoin based on the time I'm filming this video. So 10 Bitcoin is worth 560k USD. When trading large units of assets globally, it's more efficient than existing financial instruments. The transaction speed is usually 3 days through SWIFT, but transactions are over in 10 minutes, and the commissions is about $2 to $3 when Bitcoin is used to send an asset, which is more efficient asset trading tool. That is how we consider Bitcoin has moved to a digital asset today. Recently, a large amount of Bitcoin worth 101,857 Bitcoin, that's about 576 million over USD, was remitted to a specific exchange, and the transaction fee paid for the remittance was only 24 Satoshi, which only took 0.44 USD at the time of the remittance, and it's now 2.97 USD dollars based on the current price. This is ridiculously cheap transaction fee. It is known that a fee equivalent to $25 million will be charged if the same amount of remittance is simulated through PayPal. What this means is that it's a very meaningful example of usefulness of the Bitcoin as an asset transfer method suitable for large-scale transfers in terms of speed and fees. Going back to the past, before Bitcoin formed high prices, not only Satoshi Nakamoto, who first created Bitcoin, but also Bitcoin supporters hoped that Bitcoin would develop itself as a digital currency. But as Bitcoin price gradually rose, once it was price of pizza, became $1,000 at some point, and then the fee price gradually rose together. Usually when you make transactions with a particular digital currency, if the fee is not a level that people could endure or reasonable level, which is about similar or cheaper than the fee you pay when you're using an existing credit card, it's not a competitive match. There is no reason to use that digital currency if the fee is more expensive. In fact, compared to the existing currency, Bitcoin fees are much higher. People who wanted to long-term growth of Bitcoin said, we need to lower the fees price. And there was big moves to lower fees with the community advocating the Bitcoin. However, the transaction fee is taken by Bitcoin node operators. The fees are important profits and assets for miners. Would you gladly agree to lower your minimum wages to $10 to $5? No dots. The answer is no. It was clear that if price of transaction fee is cut, the value of Bitcoin node operators would reduce. That's why they opposed to it. It led to a very violent collision. Eventually, the move to lower the commission was not implemented because Bitcoin requires node operators to update its code to lower fees. For example, Bitcoin advocates says the fee is 0.001 for Bitcoin now, so let's change it to 0.0001. In order to apply this, it must be reflected in the code. But authority to update the codes are mainly in the hands of the node operators, also called the miners. The node operators said, sorry, we cannot accept it, and we're not doing it. So this debate related to lowering the Bitcoin transaction fee was over. It was the end of the game. This is a classic example of breakdown of decision making in blockchain. Bitcoin hard fork. So all blockchains, including Bitcoin, are software. There may be errors that is not acknowledged yet, or not confirmed, not yet manifested, or unverified. And there are a lot of complaints about the slow processing speed of Bitcoin. So in the past, there were a lot of suggestions for the better speed of the Bitcoin. Among the countless proposals to grow Bitcoin in 2017, two big updates. One that wanted to update Bitcoin called SegWit, and the one that had different direction called Bitcoin Unlimited collided. As a result of the crash, Bitcoin Unlimited splitted the change into something called Bitcoin Cash. This was one of the biggest events in the Bitcoin history. When the move occurred, the market was very unstable because nobody knew and nobody actually could guess what would happen to the market by this split decision. So this will actually result in the price fall of the Bitcoin. However, after taking it apart, they recognized soon that this was not a bad decision. Everything went well because there was no problem. Whether this large event had led to an increase in Bitcoin price, and the media focused and draws attention. In this case, decision was made in form of splitting the change, Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, came out when it was decided. We have different opinions, so we'll go our separate ways. After that, several projects split off for similar reasons or various other reasons. The separation of one change into two is called hard fork. A hard fork is named after a chain that was once divided into several branches like a fork. In the case of Ethereum, it's a very famous incident. They worked in a project called DAO, and a large-scale hacking took place at the moment. The DAO is an organization established in 2016 by Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, with the aim of creating a company that operates without a board of directors or owner. The measures were able to prevent the withdrawal of stolen Ethereum, but the amount of the virtual assets attacked is said to be about $43 million. Vitalik Buterin suggests to a hard fork since Ethereum's damage was so great. So he has to turn back the data into the position before the accident happened. And it actually served as an opportunity for Ethereum to emerge. Hard fork was adopted as a countermeasure to the DAO hacking incident, and about 90% of the node operators decide and agree to the hard forking. The remaining 10% believe that the hard fork violates the original purpose of the blockchain of decentralization, and the Ethereum chain was separated without updating the node. That's why Ethereum and Ethereum Classics were separated. Due to fierce confrontation, the community was separated and project was split. Through this series of events, everyone thought a decision-making structure is needed in operating a blockchain network. There were doubts about whether it would be sustainable if you split or fight. Such inconsistent interest happens every time. Therefore, recognition that a decision-making structure called governance is essential and necessary for decision-making in blockchain projects. The first project to raise awareness of the problem was Tezos. And Tezos first expressed his position in 2014 and formalized that there should be a governance structure. So Tezos is still taking a very fundamental approach to solving the problem when it comes to the governance structure. In case of making MakerDAO, a DeFi project, MakerDAO is a project that allows holders to operate in a structure where they can make their own decisions and the overall decisions. The community continues to suggest, let's do this marketing, and let's put this function in, and let's change this policy. These various proposals came out and are registered on the ballot agenda, and if the vote exceeds the threshold, the policy is implemented. Token holders determine important issues in fairly democratic way. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. It has decentralized autonomous organization as a philosophy and has structures that explicitly make decisions through the act of voting or something similar to it. A lot of projects, this method to create a governance structure proceed with the project. That doesn't mean it applies to everyone because there are technical problems and I'll explain them in more detail later. However, projects that want to build truly decentralized communities are adopting this voting structure. Before moving on to the next content, let's first move on to what's the meaning of the blockchain governance. According to the research Blockchain Governance, written by Aaron Fisher and Maria Cruz Valiente, they define the blockchain governance as blockchain governance can be regarded as integration of norms and control, and the laws and the code, the people and the institutions that facilitate coordination and together determine a given organization. The question may arise as to why blockchain governance is necessary. As a blockchain ecosystem operates through the participations of various stakeholders, a mechanism that can make decisions with various stakeholders is needed here. There are various stakeholders participating in blockchain ecosystems. If you look at the mainnet project, there is blockchain technology developer, and sometimes the tech developer and the foundation are co-located and sometimes separated. And there will be node operators, and there will be token holders, and there could be also DApp operators who uses a mainnet, and there will be a DApp service provider that uses a DApp. And there are organizations that provide various services derived from it. So the blockchain ecosystem has a wide variety of stakeholders participating. If you take MakerDAO as example, there is a lead group centered and around the lead group developers leading the project. There are people who hold tokens and those who deposit tokens in MakerDAO and those who borrow tokens as a collateral. These people are stakeholders here. There are many numbers and types of stakeholders. Even if you're the members of the blockchain ecosystem, the interests of node operators and token holders not always come together. And the interests of those who focus on development and those who own tokens do not necessarily coincide. In this case of Bitcoin, as I said earlier, there was a big fight just with the Bitcoin fee problem. To see the case in many areas, each stakeholder thinks and makes decisions according to their own interests and positions. Just as node operators and those concerned about Bitcoin's long-term visions were opposed to each other because of their different interests. Then how should we coordinate these interests and create a long-term project? In that respect, blockchain governance, the important decision-making body, is needed to minimize conflicts between the stakeholders and make correct decisions. Blockchain is a combination of technology and politics, so it should be able to imply politics through technical devices. The blockchain itself acts as a structure that combines technology and politics. The blockchain itself has politics built into it. It can be seen as an algorithm of politics. In the existing politics, decision-making takes place in a form in which technology does not significantly combined. However, in blockchain community, political actions take in a form of a direct combination of a technology. And the role of governance is to combine these technologies and politics well to support decision-making in the blockchain ecosystem. When we think of consensus structures of a blockchain, we often think of a consensus algorithm and that agrees on the data at the bottom of the blockchain. But beyond that, there is a political consensus on the vision and the policy. The blockchain consensus algorithms is consensus on data. You can also say that this is a mechanical and physical consensus. This is embodied in the blockchain technology itself. In other words, blockchain is a technology with a built-in consensus mechanism. Then there is an agreement on the vision and policy determined within the community. It's a political decisions for technology to work. Simply social-political consensus. In order for technology to work well and for us to grow well together, we make certain political decisions through consensus and enable them to work technically. As such, the blockchain operates through a structure in which two consensus structures are inseparable from each other. So next time we will take a closer look at the technology embedded in the blockchain and the concept structure of those two in order to understand the blockchain governance better. So see you next time and thank you for watching. Bye.
프로토콘이 궁금하다면 좋아요, 구독, 알림 설정까지.